So today we are doing 7.3, which is going to be the Pythagorean Theorem Part 1. So in the last lesson, we actually learned first about Pythagorean Theorem and how to prove it was a right triangle. So today we're going to be using Pythagorean Theorem to find the missing side of a right triangle. So let's jump into that. So again, I want to point back to the key points is that if I have a right triangle, the side opposite of my 90-degree angle, always going to be the long side, is going to be called my hypotenuse. And then the other two sides are going to be called my legs, which are going to be represented as A and B. So if I take A squared plus B squared equals C squared, I then can use this to plug in other information to find another piece of information or a missing side if I need to. So we're going to take that, put it into our examples, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So let's look at our first example. So the main thing we're going to be looking at is only finding the hypotenuse today. So in the next lesson, we're actually going to be dealing with the legs, okay? So right now, if I look, I've been given my two legs, and I need to find my third leg of my triangle. So the way I do that is I'm going to use Pythagorean Theorem to do that. So I'm going to plug in what I know, and then I'm going to find what I don't know, okay? So right now, remember, my two legs are represented as A and B. It does not matter how I write it. I can write this as A or B or that one as B. It doesn't matter. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So I know I'm going to call this A. I'm going to call this B. So A is 6. B is going to be 8. And then I need to find C squared. So 6 times 6 is 36. 8 times 8 is 64. 36 and 64 give me 100. And then now to get rid of the squared, the opposite of squaring something is finding the square root. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides here. So that's going to cancel my squared. And then the square root of 100 is going to give you 10. So the value of x here, or the value of c, my hypotenuse, is going to be 10. So x is going to be 10. And if I needed to, I could plug it back into the formula to see if it works out. But this is the Pythagorean Theorem and how you find the missing side of your hypotenuse there. Okay? Let's jump over to example number 2. All right, look at example number 2 again. I've been given a right triangle, and I'm going to use hypotenuse or the Pythagorean theorem to find my hypotenuse here. So I know A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So remember, my two legs are A and B, so it doesn't matter which one I plug them into. A and B are both the legs. So I'm going to call this one A, I'm going to call this one B. So A is going to be 6 squared, B is going to be 4 squared, and then C is what I need to find. So 6 times 6 is 36. 4 times 4 is going to be 16. It looks like 16 and 36 are going to add up to 52. Okay, so that's going to give me 52 equals C squared. And so now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. But whenever I take the square root of both sides, 52 is not a perfect square. So right now, if I wanted to leave this in radical form, I'm actually going to reduce 52, just like we learned back in lesson 1, which is 7.1, which is simplifying radicals. And so now in order for me to reduce 52, I'm going to think of a perfect square that can go into 52. Well, I know 4 can go into 52 13 times. So I'm going to split up 52 into the square root of 4 and the square root of 13. The square root of 4 is going to give me 2. So your final simplification is going to be 2 square root 13 because I can't do 2 square root 13 anymore. So this is going to end up being my answer in radical form. But now if something asks you to put the answer as a decimal, you can go ahead and type in the square root of 52 in your calculator and it should give you a decimal. And whenever I do that, it should give you a decimal of 7.211 repeated. It's going to keep on going. So this would be your decimal and this would be your radical form. Those are the same thing, okay? All right, so let's jump over to example number 3. All right, so let's look at example number 3. So it says 2 joggers run 8 miles north and then 5 miles west. What is the shortest distance to the nearest tenth of a mile they must travel to return to their starting point? So that means that they started here. It says they ran north 8 miles. So I'm going to go north 8 miles. And then never eat slimy worms. I'm going to west. Looks like I'm going to go west 5 miles. And then the closest distance from this point they're at to where they began is going to be a straight distance to there, which if you look, this makes a 90-degree angle. That's going to be a right triangle. So I am looking for the hypotenuse, which is going to be the C value of my right triangle. Okay, so I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem here. So my two legs are 5 and 8. So I'm going to do 5 squared plus 8 squared is equal to c squared. Okay, so 5 times 5 is going to be 25. 8 times 8 is going to be 64. It looks like 64 plus 25 is going to end up giving me 89. And then now to get rid of the squared symbol, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So now c is going to be equal to the square root of 89, but it tells me to round my answer to the nearest tenth of a mile. So if I do the square root of 89, that's going to be 9.433. So 9.433. My tenths place is the 4. The 3 will not change the 4. So your final answer is going to be about 9.4 miles away. Or actually it'll be mi, because m is just meters. Okay? So that is how you find the distance from point A to point B using Pythagorean theorem. Okay? All right, and last up is going to be your challenge question. Remember, this challenge question, again, is a gauge to see if you're ready to move on to your skill check. If you cannot do this on your own, then that means you call me over, get a little bit more help to see if you understand what's going on. But if you can do this on your own, that means you can go and do your skill check now. If you're needing help with that, call me over and I can help you out. Good luck. Talk to you soon.